All right, here we go. So, number one, translation, 5 units right. Horizontally is right and left, correct? So where does that, what do we first of all do? Add or subtract 5 when it's horizontal? Right, when it's left or right, we go left. When it's left, we go right as far as what we're thinking. But you have to put that in parentheses, right? That whole X, so we change that X. We're changing the X on horizontal stuff. Vertical stuff, we're changing the Y, remember? So we're putting where the X is, X minus 5. And then we simplify. Negative 5 plus 7 is 2. We all get that one? Okay? All right. Another one. 2 units left. Okay? Again, we're going horizontally. And here we're in absolute value parent function, right? So here's our problem, but remember, we're replacing the X when it's horizontal. All right, it says left, so we're thinking the opposite, right? So we're going X plus 2 in here. Okay? And then we'll just distribute the 1/3. You can distribute into the parentheses. You just can't distribute into an absolute value. So it's okay inside here to do that. All right? So we have the absolute value of 1/3 X plus 2/3. And I distribute the 1/3. Okay, that's kind of a tricky one because of the absolute value. All right? Number 3, when it's up or down, we just do it on the outside. So all we're going is down, so that's minus. So we're just going to subtract 7 on the end. And then simplifying the 2 minus 7 is the negative 5. Good on number 3? Again, number 4, we're going up 6. So just on the end, everything's the same. Just add a 6 on the end of the function for your g function. And then negative 1 plus 6 gives you the plus 5. So the vertical stuff's the easier stuff, right? Horizontal stuff, you got to think a little bit. You're replacing X. Okay, questions on the first 4? Okay, number 5, reflection on the X, you're taking the opposite of the whole thing. You're changing your Y, right? So remember, we have f of x equals 1/2 x plus 8. Okay, remember, that's the same as y equals. We're just writing stuff in function notation right now. All right? So remember, when we're reflecting about the x-axis, we're changing our y. That's what we talked about last week. We're taking the opposite. All right? So we're going the opposite of that. The whole thing. For reflecting about the x. So our g function, that's what we're calling these answers. All right, negative, and you can distribute the negative. Okay? Because it was a reflection about the x. All right, like a reflection about the y, we make our x its opposite. Right, Cindy? Number 6 was like that. Okay? So all you have to do is change your x to the opposite of that, or negative x, when it's a reflection about the y. So that's all that changed from your f function to your g function. We good with 6? 7, vertical. Oh,
Why can you put that on the inside?
Because we're changing the x.
That's it?
Right.
Alright.
So we take the opposite of the x.
Alright.
Wherever it's at. Okay?
Yeah.
All right, so number 7 is a vertical shrink. So again, vertical, we multiply the whole thing by that factor. So all we're doing is multiplying the negative 5x times 1/5. And when you multiply negative 5 times 1/5, you get negative 1. That's why it's just negative x. 7, okay? Again, if you got a question, just ask. Number 8, another vertical stretch. So we're multiplying the whole thing by that factor of 4. Because again, vertical, we're changing the y. So this was our original function, absolute value family. What's the graph of the absolute value look like? A V, thank you. All right, so we're multiplying the whole thing by that factor of 4. So, and again, you don't distribute into the absolute value, you're just distributing into the parentheses. So you can put it out front of the absolute value, and then the 4 times 2 is the 8. That one makes sense? So don't put it inside with the x and the 3, inside that absolute value. All right, so horizontal stretch. Remember, when it's horizontal, we said that was hard, and it's always 1, and then whatever the factor was here. So basically, it's a reciprocal. If it's a factor of 6, we're going to multiply by 1/6. If it's a factor of 1/6, we multiply by 6, reciprocal. Because 1 over 1/6 is 6. All right, so we put it in place of the x. All right, so for our g function, it's 3, it was 3x in our f, so 3 times, we're changing our x to the 1/6 x. Just that part changed. The x part changed. And then the minus 9. All right, what's 3 times 1? 3. What's 3 divided by 6? 1/2, right? Or 0.5. So you can use the decimal, it's okay. I'm always used to, as much as possible, using, and it's just the x part, remember, when it's horizontal, so we're not going like vertical on the whole thing. So we don't multiply it times the 9 part. Okay? And then number 10, we're back to vertical, so we're multiplying that whole thing by that factor of 1/4. Vertical, whole thing. So we had a negative, and then we had 8x inside the absolute value, and then the minus 4. Okay? So, again, we can distribute the 1/4 times the negative and the 1/4 times the negative 4. Okay? So that's why my answer that you're looking at is negative 1/4 and then 8x and then minus 1, because 1 times negative 4 is negative 4 divided by 4 is negative 1. Right? Is that helping going over those? Any questions? Okay. So we have the parent function for number 11. It's linear, right? When you reflect, all right, what do you do to about the x-axis? You just take the opposite of the whole thing, right? So it's the opposite of x. So that was my first step. It's kind of sloppy there on the right. And then it says a horizontal stretch by a factor of 3. So I'm multiplying that x part, the negative x part, I guess, by a third, which is negative 1/3 x. Because again, when it's horizontal, factor of 3, we're doing the reciprocal, remember? And then 5 units down is just subtracting 5 when it's vertical, up or down. So negative 1/3 x minus 5. Okay, and again, if you want, you can always check all of these to see if it's doing what it says on your calculator, right? So don't forget about that. Number 12 was the revenue profit problem we talked about. Okay, so again, our revenue was 25 times x. And then it says profit is means equals in math, $5 more than 30% of the revenue. What did we talk about 30% was? What decimal is that? 0.3, right? It's 30 over 100, which is 3/10, 0.3, right? Or just move the decimal point to the left. So 30% of the revenue, well, here's our revenue. So when of means times, so 30% times the revenue, and $5 more than that would be plus 5. If it said $5 less than that, it'd be minus 5, right? So there's our equation. And then we had to find the profit for 12 paintings. Okay? Oh, let's clean this up. What's 0.3 times 25? Somebody, I heard it. 7.5, thank you. So there's our function for our profit. So the profit for 12 paintings, so we're putting 12 in place of x. So 7.5 times 12 plus 5 comes out to, most of you looked like you had that one when I was checking, $95. Okay? And then the last one, you're looking at the equation, and what family is this in? F for family function. Isn't it absolute value of x? Right? You guys with me? Don't zone out. Come on. All right. So our g function is negative 1/2 times that, and then minus 6. So when I see the negative, that tells me out front, that tells me it's reflecting about the what? X. So the first thing that happened, reflect about x-axis. All right. The second thing, it's since it's 1/2 out front, it's a vertical compression or shrink, right? By a factor of 1/2. And then the minus 6 tells us what? What do we call it when it's up and down? Just moves up, down, right, or left. What's the name of that transformation? Translation. Oops, down left, that's not right. Down 6. Right, translations up and down, right or left. Okay, that's our easiest type of transformations, right? Just moving it. Don't change the look of it at all. Don't stretch it out or compress it. Not flipping it at all. All right? Does that help going over that? Okay, what are we doing today? Practice quiz, right? So you got the rest of the period to do that. Now, let's do it quietly. Let's try to work on it. You should be able to get done with it. And then we'll go over tomorrow, and your quiz will be Wednesday. All right? Any questions? Thanks for your attention.